Welcome to the Michael Singer podcast, presented by Sounds True, in partnership with Shanti Publications. For more information about Michael Singer's work, access to all prior episodes, and information about upcoming releases, we invite you to join us at michaelsingerpodcast.com.
Jagradiv, Jam Masters. The most important obstacle that stands between a beautiful life, self-realization, God-realization, enlightenment, liberation, call it whatever you want, is the mind. It's funny because Buddhists speak of mind like you speak of God. Zen does. By the time we're done here, you're going to understand why it's the same thing. So mind is not what we think mind is. Mind is a field of energy, a very, very high vibration energy, that is not detectable by your instruments yet. Someday it will be. They didn't used to be able to pick up infrared or ultraviolet, any of these things. I mean, radio waves, you have a radio that picks them up, okay? Otherwise you wouldn't know they were there. It goes for all the things that are outside of the spectrum, the light spectrum, electromagnetic spectrum, that is perceivable by the human eye or human ears. Our receptors are limited to certain frequencies. Well, there are frequencies way higher than that, way higher. And physics says, well, they admit they just don't know. How would they know? They have nothing to pick it up. But they're humble enough to understand they didn't used to think any of these things could be picked up. And now we developed instruments that could. But the mental plane is just a very, very high vibration rate of energy. That's all. It's not weird. It's just not made of atoms. But again, we found out now that atoms aren't made of atoms. I've been through that with you. I can't help myself. They got past the atoms down to the quantum field. The quantum field is what atoms emanate out of. The quantum field slows down and atoms show up because they're able to interact together. The different particles or forces that emanate out of the quantum field, which are not atoms, but if they slow down enough and their different qualities and characteristics interact together, electromagnetism, these different forces, they create atoms, and there they go. So the higher plane is not made of atoms. It's a much higher frequency completely than any of that, and probably maybe higher than what we're playing around with the quantum particles. But in any event, it's a very high vibration rate. It's just a field of energy. It's not complicated. It's just a field of energy, just like an ocean or a lake can be totally still, but it can make ripples. And those ripples can have patterns. Those ripples can interact with each other. And so you're starting to create something out of something that wasn't there. There just was this total empty field. And then because it got agitated or different things interacted with the field, it started making wavelets and they interact with each other. And that's what creates your whole physical universe. We know this now. Science knows this now. It's not a theory or a philosophy or some spiritual discussion. So if the vibration rate is way higher than that, there's a field of energy that's called the mental plane. How do we know it's there? I think it's hilarious. I think it's beautiful that a physicist can be thinking, I don't know why it's there. Maybe it's not there. Maybe there's nothing there. What are those thoughts? Where do they come from? I don't see them on the floor. I don't see it at all. Do you? So it's just, that's what we're going to talk about, how lost we are in the mind. We're so lost in the mind that we don't know we're in the mind. We haven't abstracted from it. If you were always in the water, that's all. You just always were in the water. You never saw not water. You wouldn't know you were in the water. Fish don't know they're in the water, except for the ones that jump. They jump out, and they fall back in. Hey, there's something else up there. All right? So you don't know you're in mind. They don't know they're in mind. They think it's them. It's not. Your thoughts are objects that are created out of the mental plane. Just like the physical world is made out of the substance of the quantum fields, so the mental world, if you will, and you know the ones, you live in it, so you know it's there, is made out of the essence, substance of the mental plane. which is very subtle and very high. And someday they will develop instruments that can pick it up. All right. So basically, that's what your thoughts are. They're objects that are created in the mental plane. They are real. They are things. They have form. How do you know they have form? Visualize a boat. Go on, visualize a boat. Bigger one. Queen Mary. Did you visualize it? As a form. You made a form. It's really there. I have interacted with, and people know, psychics, real psychics, that can see that boat. And you have had experiences that yourself. You have sat in a car driving with somebody, nobody's talking, and all of a sudden you both say, I've been thinking about Uncle George, that you've never discussed for years together. And when one person created that thought, that other person picked it up. Have you ever had experiences like that? Doesn't mean you're psychic. It means there's really a thing called a thought, okay? And if physicists can't create instruments that can pick up the mental plane, how do we know it's there? Because you happen to have an instrument that can pick it up. Your consciousness is subtle enough to be able to pick up the vibrations of the mental plane. That's why you know there are thoughts there. It's no different than physics. That they call it metaphysics, all right? But that which used to be metaphysics, they now have instruments pick it up. It's not metaphysics, it's physics. So that's what your mind is. It's a field of energy, empty. It can be empty, complete, beautiful field, like a lake that's still, of energy that can vibrate. And when it vibrates, it can make forms. And okay, so I want you to understand, because we're going to talk very deep about mind here. That is what mind is, period. So what's wrong with that? Nothing. Well, what's right with it? It's like, our computers nice? If you use them properly, they're unbelievable. They're just phenomenal. The mind is the same way. Who's using the mind? Does the mind use itself? It does not. The computer doesn't do its own thing. Something has to tell it to do it. It has to be programmed to do it. It doesn't just all of a sudden start doing its own. Even AI won't. I don't care. It programmed AI to do certain things. So now it's doing things you didn't expect. But you programmed those things. They had to start somewhere. Your mind can be empty. It's just empty mind. Now, what creates the thought? You just created a boat. Did you just create a boat in your mind? Now we've separated mind from you because you created the boat. The mind did not create the boat. You created the boat. Who did? You did. How? You must have a power in there that not only can pick up the vibrations of mind, but can create them. You literally created a boat. The power, it's a funny name. It's called willpower. You asserted your will. It wasn't hard, was it? You have to work for the sweat of your brow. You said, boom, there's a boat. Boom, the arm moved. You have will. You're in there. You can make things happen. Can you move the physical plane? Can you willfully move the physical plane? Ready? I willfully moved the physical plane. It took energy, did it not? Where did the energy come from? Did that thing levitate by itself? No. I asserted will that made muscles move and tense, that were able to pick up the object, even though it has weight and resistance. Where did all that power come from? It came from the assertion of will transferred down through the body and so on. Where do your thoughts come from? The ones we just talked about, which is willfully created thoughts. They are just objects created in the mental plane out of this essence of the mental plane, and your will can create those thoughts. Pretty powerful, aren't you? You're way beyond scientists. They don't even know it's there. They can't pick it up. You can not only pick it up, you manipulate it, you can do anything you want. You understand that? Okay? But you have to get out in order to see in. So you are the indwelling consciousness that has a playpen of the mind and a playpen of the physical world. I can make the physical world move. If I do this and the arm moves, is that psychokinesis? I'm going to make a physical object move with the power of my mind. There, it just did. I didn't see any steam shovels or cranes or anything to pick this arm up. What picked this arm up? It broke the laws of physics. Is there gravity in this arm? Did it pick itself up? No, I did. Wow, wake up. What happens, we're so close, we can't see what's going on. Is this not a physical object? Does it not have weight and resistance like any other physical object? Where is the motor, the electricity, the who knows what, that had the power to move that object? My will did that, didn't it? It picks up when I tell it to, it moves up. That's tremendous. I'm glad you see it. Don't let them tell you otherwise, because that's what's going on. Will is a power, an inner power that has the ability to make muscles move, and it has the ability to manipulate and move the mental plane, not just the physical plane. So you can create thoughts, right? How about not all thoughts seem like you created them. They haunt you. Thoughts about bad things that happened to you in the past, right or wrong, they come up by themselves and you can't stop them. They're a problem. What's that all about? It's the same thing as a habit on the physical plane. If I get in a habit of shaking my leg like that, I like shaking my leg, all right? It's going to go on by itself. It's like muscle memory. It's the same thing on the mental plane. You create thoughts and you put so much energy into them that they're using subconscious will, they're using habit, but Master call it habit-formed will. It's a habit that your power of will flows down to those thoughts, so then they pop up by themselves. But still, you're in there, and you did it, and you're doing it, and don't you think otherwise? Well, Freud, they have a whole thing called suppression, and they studied it. They found out that there are thoughts and emotions suppressed down there. Down where? Down in the mind, okay? Down in that field of energy. They stayed. They happened, they stayed. How did they stay? Why did the white lines in the road not stay? Why did the trees you drove by not stay? Why did the people that you don't know walking down the street didn't stay in there? Because there are certain things that came in that you in there were not comfortable with when they came into the mental plane. Not out there. They had to come in. They came in and they created vibrations and stuff on the mental plane. They created forms of the mental plane that you experienced. You used your will, and don't you ever let somebody tell you anything otherwise. You use your will to push them away. Can you try to push away a thought you don't like? Have you ever struggled with your thoughts? Who's struggling with the thoughts? Okay, I'm trying to explain something that's so deep. The reason the thought is still there is because you kept it there. If you didn't keep it there and apply your will, you have will. And will is the most supreme force internally. It can manipulate the physical plane, it can manipulate the mental plane and the emotional plane. Have you ever pushed away emotions? Have you ever created an emotion that you wanted to come back because you liked it so much? Have you ever created an emotion that you really don't like altogether, but your brain could come back anyways? I'm afraid of it, so I keep thinking about it. In any event, you have will. Will is the power of consciousness. I get into that later. You do have will. Can you push away thoughts? Can you cling to thoughts? Can you embrace an emotion? Can you push an emotion away? What's beautiful with Freud and those kind of things is, yes, it's brilliant. They realized, oh, there's a mind, and things can be held in the mind. And if they're held in the mind without your consciously paying attention, because you used your energy underneath to keep them down there, they can cause a lot of trouble. You can get really weird, and your thoughts are weird and out of balance and disturbing. Yes or no? That's what they taught, right? I want to know, Sigmund, who pushed the thought down there? And don't tell me ego did, because ego is another thought. It's just, the ego is a collection of thoughts. This is who I am, this is what I like, this is what I don't like. They're just thoughts that you built inside your mind. Ego is a structure built inside the field of mind. And yours is different than yours, which is different than yours, and yours was different yesterday than it is today. Because different experiences happened to you, they came into your mind, and you in there, I don't want to use the word soul, I won't. You in there. I want to call it you. First, I forgot. Here's your test. Are you in there? Are you in there? How do you know? You know you're in there. Why? Because you're in there. It's like God said to Moses, when Moses asked him, what's your name in the burning bush? He said, I am that I am. Right? You're in there because you're in there. Prove it. I can't. I don't want to talk about it. All right? You know you're in there. Okay? That you in there has a power of will. And you have the ability to manipulate the mental and emotional planes. I'm going to keep talking about mental. The emotional is the same. It's just another vibration rate of energy where your emotions are formed. Your emotions are not the same as thoughts. Thoughts are either visual or vocal inside your head. Does your mind talk to you? You shouldn't have done that. I can't believe you did that. Oh my God, nobody finds out. Maybe I should call somebody. Does it do that? Okay. That's just the vocal part of your mind creating thoughts, creating vocal thoughts. And it can create visual thoughts. Emotions are not thoughts, are they? If I ask you to point to your thoughts, you don't point to your heart. If I ask you to point to your emotions, you don't point to your head, because you know where your emotions are formed. They're formed out of your heart. There's a different vibration field called the emotional plane, and there's the mental plane. And your same consciousness is picking up both. All right. And then there's a physical plane, and your same consciousness is picking up that plane. Consciousness is supreme over everything. It is the I am that I am. So I am the one who looks out through these eyes. How about you? I am the one who felt hurt when you said that. I am the one who thinks what I'm going to do about it. You'll be sorry. Okay? It's just the same I is in there all the time. So basically, you have had events that have happened to you in your life. They have come in. Most of them come in and they go right through, like the wind and the air. But some of them you were not comfortable with. You in there were not comfortable with. So you pushed away. And that's who suppressed. You suppressed. It did not happen by itself. You in there, the indwelling being who has will, use your will to say, not on my watch. You will not talk to me like that. You will not talk to me like that. And by the way, you're not even talking to a person yet. You're doing it inside your head before you get to the person. How many of you had a conversation with a person before you talk to them? How many had a conversation with a person after you talk to them? How many had a conversation of what you're going to say to that person when you see them and you never ever told them that? You never opened your mouth, but it went on in that head. This is what it means to wake up, to realize you are in there, and this is what's going on in there. It's just a mental plane of energy that what happens if form comes in, you see it, you experience it, but you push it away. That's like Freud talked about pushing it away as suppression or repression or denial. In other words, I don't want to have this thought. But it's in there. It got created, okay? There was a boat. There was a person. There was words said. And they came in and you experienced them in your mind, but you pushed them away. That's who suppresses. You. There's no suppression except for that, period. The consciousness has will. It pushes it away. But if it keeps pushing it away long enough, it becomes a habit. It becomes like a subconscious assertion of will. Non-volition, you're not willfully doing it, just became a habit, like chewing gum or like this or that, shaking your leg or anything you do for physical habit. You have mental habits, don't you? All right? It's because those patterns got created on the mental plane and energy is still going into them at a non-conscious level. You're not purposely pushing away that your blanket was taken away too soon when you were 4, but it's down there. And so you are actually pushing it away. How do I know? If they do enough therapy, and they got to really dig down there to get past you. You understand that? You start crying before it comes up. I'm uncomfortable. I don't want to go to therapy anymore. I don't know what's wrong. I feel so. Of course you feel uncomfortable. You pushed it away when you were 4, and now you're 44, and that junk's still down there. That's Freud, isn't it? You understand that? That's the entire science of psychology. But they got it some, all right, but they don't realize that you're in there doing it. It doesn't just happen by itself. It is your will. You're the only center of will that's in there. There is no other will. Mommy's not in there. Daddy's not in there. Well, what about the superego? It is a collection of thoughts that you held in there. Your mother said, you need to go to church. You need to never do that. You shouldn't talk to me like that. And it bothered you and you held it in there. And so part of your mind started talking that way. Another part of your mind started saying, I'm hungry. I don't care what the person said to me. I want to hit them. I think the animal aspect of your being, the id, is a thought. There are thought patterns. And you're in there and you developed a you in there. Out of what? Thoughts. Your ego is not who you are. Your ego is a self-concept. It's a concept of who you are. If you develop these thoughts, you held them inside. I'm the one who likes this. I'm the one who got married. I'm the one who got divorced. I'm the one who this. I'm this. I'm this. I'm this. You are not any of those things. Those are experiences you had. You're a conscious being and you experienced those things. But you held on to them in your mind and built a you in your mind. That's not who you are. You hear your ego talking to you, don't you? Oh my God, I can't believe I did that. I was so embarrassed. What am I going to do? Should I tell her? That's ego talking. Then superego, I like Freud. Superego pops in and says, what would your mother say? Oh my God, if you say that to that person, you're going to hell. You know that. You know what the Bible says. Okay? And then it comes up and says, doesn't it? You get this battle going on in there. Right? They're all just thoughts. They're thoughts. And you give them energy. They will not stay in there. Nothing stays in there. There's no super glue. There's nothing keeping any of those thoughts in there except your will. You have conscious will when you push things away, but then they become a habit, and you have a habit of pushing it away. I don't like this. I'm not comfortable with that. And you just start pushing stuff away, and you end up building inside your head a battlefield. That's what you've done with mind. But it's all made out of this field of energy that you're experiencing. So you wake up at some point and you realize, I'm not my mind. In fact, I'm the one who created my mind. I'm the one who decided I didn't like this. What? Whatever it was. So what did I do? I kept it. I keep pushing that at you. Right? If you don't like it, why are you keeping it? I don't understand. You think if I don't like it, I go, let it go. It's over. Blanky's over. Mommy's over. Daddy's over. The ex-husband's over. They're over. Why don't you let them be over? If you don't like it and it's over, kiss it goodbye. Bye-bye. Okay? But you don't do that. You don't want to experience it. And in order to let it go, you have to experience it. You have to see that it was there. You have to feel what it feels like. But I don't like the feeling. I'm sorry. It's the feeling. It's a real thing. It's vibrating in there. And now you push it away. Then it'll be there forever. It'll be there your whole life. And so you stored all this stuff in there. Remember, in there now, what means what? Mind. Mind. Which mind? The same mind that's so brilliant, it developed air conditioning, it flew rocket ships, it can paint, it can create. Your mind's brilliant. Your mind is a supercomputer. It must be beyond a supercomputer because it developed a supercomputer. So that what you developed can't be smarter than who developed it. So don't do that with AI even. Pretty amazing stuff. What developed AI? Newton said, I'm standing on the shoulder of giants and I can see forever. That's what developed AI. Don't you tell me some person did. The first person that made a microchip, the first person that had an abacus. It's just building and building and building on mind, on top of mind, learning from mind, and just developing these unbelievable things, right or wrong. Your mind is brilliant. The human mind is brilliant. It's beyond, it has to be beyond all computers. Why? It made the computers. They weren't down there. You found them buried in the cave somewhere. God, I'll hide it down here. They'll find it someday. It wasn't down here. Mind created it. You should cry. You should worship mind. It's brilliant. It's beautiful. It's the human body. Look, they carve statues, David, beautiful things, right? 25 trillion living cells talking to each other, working together all day throughout your entire life. Wow. You should say namaste to your body at all times. It's not yours. You didn't make it. I don't understand. Your mind just, that's your body. Make me an eyeball. Make me a liver. Make me a kidney. Maybe a pancreas or a pineal. You don't even know where it is. It made itself. And it's holding itself together. How did you go from 1.5 feet to 6 feet? What'd you do? Stretch yourself? You didn't do anything. It did it all by itself. So you learn to respect this amazing thing that the atoms pulled together, and you didn't do it, okay? It all happened by the nature of this field. This is a phenomenal field. And then mind went beyond that. It's now developing robots that can be a lot like your body. And it developed AI. It's a lot like your mind. But mind did that. Whose mind? Your mind. Do not separate yourself from Einstein. You have what's called the human mind. That's a field of energy that's capable of creating thoughts and developing. And you have one. It's phenomenal. And you don't know how smart your mind is. You don't have any idea. All right? Why? Because you built all this garbage inside your mind. Your ego, your preferences, your likes, your dislikes, your suppressions, your fears, your anxiety. Mind. Right? Do you ever worry? Worry is of mind. It's not reality. Reality is here right now. That's the only part that exists right now. Worrying is not worrying about now. It's worrying about what might happen. How many times have you worried about something that never happened? How about all the time? That's what you did with your mind. Nobody else did it. You're in there. You're the only person in there. You're the only power in there. And you ended up doing that with your mind. And we'll talk a little bit more how. So therefore, I'm telling you, you don't know how smart the mind is because you filled it all with this garbage. And so now all your will and all your thoughts are all tied up in a knot with all your garbage. Go take your SATs after your girlfriend just died or ran away from you with your best friend. Now take your SATs after you had this beautiful experience and they came back beautiful and you're clear. It's just, all right. I think you got a different score. What do you think? That's why it's so stupid. It's so amazing. But in any event, mind is an empty field of energy. We have now filled it with garbage. Why? Because things came into your mind from the outside. You experience what came in through your senses. It comes in through your senses, through the nervous system, and renders in the mind. You see things in your mind. You don't see them out here. I don't want to get into that. I've showed you 1,000 times. You're not looking out through your eyes. Light is bouncing off of objects and coming into your eyes and rendering in your mind, and you're seeing it inside. That's a fact. So this stuff comes in, it renders in your mind, and then you, the power of will, the center of consciousness, says, no, not on my watch. I don't want you to have said that. I don't want this to have happened. I don't like this. Well, if I don't like it, I push it away. And that's what your subconscious is, where you push things away and your mind got all filled with garbage, got filled with everything you didn't like. Okay? And so basically now that's what is creating the thoughts inside your mind. Your mind is just accumulation of the experience that you've had that you couldn't handle. That's a funny way to say it. It is, though. You couldn't handle it. You couldn't handle what she said. You couldn't handle what he did. You couldn't handle your blanket. Things that happened you couldn't handle, you pushed away because you didn't want to experience them. And therefore your mind got full of stuff. And now thoughts are being created like that. Well, I have to be fair. What about, that's not the only thing in my mind. There's things in my mind that I really liked. That's right. You couldn't handle them, could you? You liked it so much you couldn't handle it. I turned the corner, I saw this beautiful sunset. Oh my God, it took my breath away. It blew me away, right? There's a house on the corner. I want to buy the house. I want to make it so that I can always see that sunset. In other words, you couldn't handle the experience. You could not handle that the sunset was so beautiful, you want it again. You couldn't handle that somebody said something, you don't want it again. And so you held on to what you really like and what you really don't like. And that's the patterns that are inside your mind. And you think that's your mind. It is not your mind. It's the patterns you stored inside of mind. Mind is empty, but you stored that stuff in there. And now you're kind of full of it. You're just full of this garbage inside your mind. But the rest of your mind is still there. You can still think about Mars and Jupiter and billions of galaxies and things way outside the experience of your senses. I encourage you to do it all the time as I talk about those things or talk about the quantum field. Get out of that personal mind. But you can't. Why? Because it's so distracting. If you go there and you go into a deep meditation, that's beautiful, right? How long after you come back did your stuff come back? You started worrying again, started caring what somebody did 5 years ago. That stuff you built in that mind is hand-picked to distract you. If I took your mind and put it inside mine, it would not distract me one iota. Why do I care what Sally said 5 years ago? I don't even know Sally. But the slightest thing in your mind, because you owned it, you collected exactly the things that bother you. Isn't that funny? Don't you? You do it all the time. You collect exactly the things. Okay? So basically, this is what the personal mind is. That which you built inside of mind because you couldn't handle the experiences you were having. So now you can't experience reality anymore. Okay, now that's where I wanted to go. Let's watch this. So what's your relationship like with your mind? You are so attached and distracted by your mind that you actually think it's you. When you use the word I, you're talking about your mental patterns. You're not talking about the self. You can't even get back to the self. Why? What do you mean the self? The one who's asserting the will, the one who's conscious of what's going on, the experiencer. You know what I like to call it? I'm a computer guy. The end user. Are you not the end user of the mind and the emotions and what's coming through your senses? You're the dude that's back there, okay? And you're experiencing what's going on. But it is so distracting that you never don't experience it. Like meditation is a rarity if you can do that. Otherwise, you are in there listening to your mind and you think it's you talking. I don't know if I like that. I don't want to go. I'm not sure. Yeah, but my friends want to go. I'd like to be with my friends. Yeah, but I really don't want to go because my ex-husband might be there. And I can't stand anybody got talk like that going on in there all the time. You are hypnotized by it. You're addicted to it. You are distracted by it. So distracted that you think it's you. Eventually, you stare at that so much, who does? Consciousness, that you identify with it as me. That's me. Well, why don't you want to come? Because I don't want to go. Why? I just don't want to go. Well, who is this talking? Your mind. That's not the soul talking. That's not the consciousness talking. Ever heard witness consciousness? Mindfulness? What are they talking about? That you who's in there notices that your mind is saying, I don't want to go. I don't care if people want to go. I don't want to go. And you're watching it. You're watching your mind say that. You're not saying it. You're watching your mind say it. Ever been conscious enough to watch the mind? Okay, that's witness consciousness. You're witnessing the mind instead of being the mind. Well, why would I be the mind? Because you got too close. You got too close and you got lost. And your consciousness has no frame of reference outside where you're sitting inside that mind. I'm staring at it so totally and so completely that I never see anything but that. Therefore, that's who I am. It's not who you are. You are the consciousness experiencing it. And that's what all spirituality is about, is getting you back. It's not about not using your mind. It's not even close to not using your mind. Very brilliant inventors were back there, had deep experiences outside of mind. In fact, inspiration and intuition comes from behind the mind. It doesn't come from the mind. It comes from the soul. It comes from consciousness. It's very, very deep. And so basically, compositions, people who write, Beethoven had this stuff going on, being passed into his mind. So we are so attached to staring at the personal mind. I told you where that came from. To me, I see mind as a big thing. Then there's this little program running called the ego. It's just running inside of mind, just like a computer program. It just talks about the same thing all the time. A little world, like made this little world in there. What I like, what I don't like, what I believe, what I don't believe. Every single thing. And where did you get all that stuff? Past experiences. Every single one of those things is past experiences you've had that you either liked or didn't like, and therefore they're formulating your thoughts, patterns, and so on. That is so tiny. Your mind is so expansive. How expansive? How big is the physical universe? Thank you. That's how big your mind is. There's no limitations on mind. Just as there's no limitation on the physical universe. Your mind can think anything. Think about a dog. Think about a cat. Think about the rings of Saturn. Think about a galaxy far, far away. You can think anything you want. Try to think about the fact that 1.3 million Earths inside the sun. Just visualize that burning fire of sun. How small is the Earth? 1.3 million Earths fit inside the sun. There it is, this tiny little dot orbiting around the sun, okay? Now, can you think about it? You never went there, but you can think about it, can't you? You can experience it in your mind exactly. You know, astronauts have that overview effect. They talk about that. They get off the Earth, all of them look down there and go, oh my God, my whole life was on that thing down there. And they start getting environmentally conscious, all kinds of things go on, all right? They wake up because they saw it from a different perspective. They didn't see it from the eye perspective. They saw it from, wow, it blew their mind. How about it blew their mind? What does that mean? That personal mind scattered for a little while, all right? So we did that with 1.3 million Earths inside the sun. You feel it. There are 300 billion stars in your galaxy. 300 billion. Can you even imagine what it would be like to count to 300 billion 1 second at a time? We once figured it out. It would take like 7.5 lifetimes or something or more. And that's how many stars there are in your galaxy. Can you start to think about things like that? Your mind can do it, can't it? Wow. And instead you're thinking, I don't know if he likes me. Or should I say something? No, I'll be embarrassed. I don't want her to see me. I dropped something on my pants. Oh my God, I was in on my face. I don't want to go anywhere. Holy mackerel. So you're capable of thinking of those things I just talked to you about, and you're doing this with that mind. What a waste of something great. That's what you've done with your mind. Why is it so distracting? Because you stored exactly the things that bothered you. Your ego, your personal mind, that little program is a collection of the things that bothered you the most. Either it bothered you because you liked it so much you want it to happen again, or it bothered you so much because you didn't like it and you don't want it to happen again. To me, they are the same. Like and dislike are the same. Why? They're distractions. Here, have somebody come up to you and say, my God, you're so beautiful. I just melt every time I look at you. Can you walk away from that and be okay? No. You want to know who I am. You want to know how to get back in touch with me. You want to tell other people what I said. You weren't able to handle that experience, were you? Exactly as if I said garbage to you. You can't handle it. What does it mean to handle it? You can't let it go through. You can't say, what another beautiful moment, and go have your next moment. You ain't having your next moment. You're thinking about that moment. You're trying to find out who the person is. You're telling everybody what they said. You didn't handle that. God, you don't always talk to you this clearly. Are you willing to listen? I love that you're still here, all right? Do you see you couldn't handle it? You had to do something about it. You could not handle it. Does that happen? So you can't handle something happen that wasn't comfortable, and you can't handle something happen that was comfortable. So you collected these things inside. You made these patterns in your mind that you hold there, and you're so distracted by them that you are addicted to them. You're completely addicted to them. You identify with them. If I ask you, who are you? I'm Ben's wife, and I'm the mother of such as a child, and I'm an accountant, and I played Dorothy in the 5th grade. That is not who you are. Those are experiences that you had. That's not who you are. What if you didn't have the experience? You wouldn't exist? But you didn't marry Ben. You never met him. Of course, Jesus exists. But you'd probably say, I'm the person that didn't meet Ben. No, that's not who you are. That is a thought. Those are thought patterns that are developed in this tiny little part of your mind. It's so tiny, it's ridiculous. So I like to do it in a way that your mind can actually touch it. So we sat there and said, there's 300 billion stars in your galaxy. Okay, it's interesting to think about. It doesn't really do anything to you emotionally. Well, your sun is 93 million miles away. Miami's 320. That help you a little bit? 93 million miles away. So you stretch your mind a little bit, okay? The next closest star is 4.3 light years away. The next star out of the 300 billion, the next one is 4.3 light years away. What does that mean? I've done this with you before, but I'm showing you how you can use your mind. If I took a light beam, held it above the earth, and let it go for 1 second, it would circumnavigate the globe 7.5 times. That's the speed of light. Can your mind touch that? Go that speed every second for 4.3 years, and you will get to the next star. Your mind is capable of thinking about that. Your mind is capable of letting you live in that world. You see, did you feel it? But look at the world you're living in. Your thoughts, based on your past experiences, everybody's got some. I always ask you, how many experiences were you missing when you had your experience? How many experiences are going on right now that you're not experiencing? All over the place. So there's moments, things are going on. You're not experiencing them. But you experienced something 4.5 years ago. You held on to it. And that experience, you missed all the others that were going on at that time, but you made your being out of that experience. That's what you did with this AI. That's what you did with AI. You got AI in there. That's what you chose to do with it. Make a complete mess of your life. You couldn't handle something. One thing that happened, I'm trying to get your mind, I'm doing this on purpose right now to let you see how great your mind is. If I ask you, how important are the experiences that you've had? You better say nothing. They are nothing. Have you ever studied statistics? I took advanced statistics when I was in school. I liked it a lot, all right? There's this thing called statistically insignificant. I like that a lot. Your experiences are statistically insignificant. You had one experience, and at the same time, 700 million, zillion, quillion other things were going on. And you made a big deal out of the one that happened to be in front of you. How big? You made your life be about it. You hear me? You think it's the most important. Your experience is the most important thing in the entire universe, aren't they? They are not. They're just things that happen, and you happen to be standing there when they happen. Wake up. You are listening to the most silly thing in the world. The collection of your learned experiences get put in there. They're arbitrary. They just happen to happen. And you say, this is how I am. I've always been like this. This is my favorite, right? I've been this ever since I was little. This is how I am. I see. So your 5-year-old experience determines who you are. I've never liked this. And you're proud of it. I've never liked that kind of person. You hear how silly it is? That's what I wanted to talk about. Your relationship to your mind. Because you don't pay attention to that, do you? If your mind tells you jump, you jump. If your mind tells you I don't like that, you leave. You're sitting there and you got married. It was a very short time. You in Vegas, you got drunk, you got married, all right? You fell in love. You were madly in love. And you wake up in the morning and your mind says, what did I do? Who is that over there? Can that happen? Answer me. Now do you understand why I talk to you about mind? Wake up. You are not your mind. There is not a single thing your mind ever said to you that's you. There's not a single opinion that your mind has that is you. There's not a single like or dislike. Nothing is you. It is just things you collected in this field of energy called mind, and you are addicted to staring at them. So addicted that you identify with them. You say, that's who I am. I am my ego. No, you're not. I love the psychology. Says that your ego is your self-concept. Not who you are, the concept of yourself. What does that mean? What's a concept? Something you make up in your mind. So you made this stuff up in your mind. And it can change, unfortunately, way too easy. Can it? And there's 8.3 billion of you. And everyone had different experiences. Okay. Do I have to live like that? Of course not. No, you don't have to live like that. Do I have to go down there and find out every single experience I had that I wasn't able to let go of? Of course not. You'd be here forever. Here, there's this financial advisor. Oh, you invest, whatever. There's a financial advisor standing over there. You listen to him about 3 or 4 years ago. Yeah, a few $100,000. You lost every penny by listening to this guy. And so he's okay. So now, do you have to punch him in the mouth? Tell him to shut up next time he talks? No. You just have to stop listening to him. That's a lot easier. Just the next time he shows up, hey, I got this great investment. Just kind of laugh and put your attention somewhere else. You don't have to listen. It's not that he doesn't have to talk. You don't have to listen. That is your relationship with your mind, with the personal mind. You don't have to listen to what it says. If you were married and you're happy, and then somebody at work says, well, I used to be happy too, and then this happened and she changed or he changed. And you don't have to start thinking about, well, maybe I need, that's my favorite, right? Is the wife gets scared that either one could cheat on the other one, right? Says, well, my God, look at Sally, that happened and she lost her family. I better start dating somebody else behind so I have a spare in case something happens. Don't you doubt that mind does that crap. I'll tell you one other thing mind does. Mind talking to you. I'm so unhappy. Since she left me, I'll never find anybody else. That is mind talking to you. You are not depressed. You are staring at a depressed mind. The same you who's watching that mind, watch the mind say, oh my God, she loves me. I'm so happy. She says she'll never leave me. Now it says, she left me. I knew she would. Nobody could ever love me. I don't even want to live. You listen to your mind. You better start learning how not to. That's what it boils down to. This is the entire spiritual practice, is learning to not identify with and have to. You're welcome to listen to it, but not because it's telling you to listen to it. Not because it's espousing the sum of its learned experiences, which I told my mind so long ago. Hey, hello in there. Hey, shut up, listen. The sum of your learned experiences adds up to 0. You missed every single thing that was going on while you're having one tiny experience. Therefore, you know nothing. Well, I know that women that are really pretty don't turn out being nice. Yeah, right. You had one experience for something. Great. You had an experience in high school and it carried you for the rest of your life. How meaningless is that you dated somebody blonde and she turned out to be either bimbo or brilliant or not nice? Who cares? You then decided blondes are no good or really good. And you have proof. That's what I like. No, I says, I'm not stupid. I had direct experience. One direct experience. And at the same time, 800 zillion other things are going on. And if you had experienced those, you would not be thinking the way you do. And you are willing to listen to those stupid thoughts? What's wrong with you? You just look at the thing and you don't have to shut it up. I used to try, shut up, fight with it. No, just don't listen to it. Why? Because it doesn't know anything. How come that person out there thinks differently than you do? Who's right? If they're listening to their mind, no one is right. They only know the little nothing that they know, and their mind's telling them, I know the truth. You know what the truth is? What we're talking about right now, that mind doesn't know squat. It can't. If it's true that your ego is the sum of your learned experiences, you tell me about the sum of your learned experiences. 0 plus 0 plus 0 plus 0 is 0. Because every moment you are missing 700 trillion things that are happening, and you're only experiencing one. And the sum of that learned experience is statistically insignificant. It can't know anything. It can't know anything. But I read a book about it. How many books didn't you read? How many experiences didn't you have? Way bigger than what you... It's so funny. Wake up. That's how you grow spiritually. You don't fight with your mind. You don't think you're wrong, you're right. You don't get into it. You don't build a self-concept. I'm spiritual. I don't have a mind. Now, who's talking there? You just wake up and realize, wow, look at that thing talking. Wow, and look how powerful it is. It's hard not to listen to because you made it out of your worst experiences or best experience in your life, and you get drawn into it. If you think about the nicest thing that ever happened to you, you're not going out into outer space. You're not developing AI. You're thinking about that, right? And if you think about the worst thing that ever happened to you, which you do all the time, you think about the worst thing that ever happened to you, it addicts you. It draws you into it. It's hard to let go, is it not? If somebody says something to you that hurts you, I know it's never happened to you. Somebody says something to hurt you. Do you ever think about it again? How long do you think about it after they say it? It's the only thing you think about. Wake up. You are misusing this beautiful thing called mind. It is so capable. Made me cry. That's like, do you take razor blades and carve your body? No, I would never do that. But look what you're doing in your mind. You made your mind store the worst things that have happened to you and make it the foundation of its formulation. As you let that go, you'll find out you've released your mind. What's that word? Oh yeah, untethered. You untethered your mind. It was free now. It can think. It can create. It can love. It can do all kinds of things. Instead of, we talk about the mental plane. The emotional plane is the same. Have you ever gotten hurt emotionally? Of course you have. Are you scared of having it again? Of course you are. Does it affect your relationships? Does it affect every day of your life? Does it affect how you act? Of course it does. Because you stored this stuff inside this beautiful thing called your heart that's capable of all this love and inspiration. No, not most people's. But it's capable of fear. There, that's the predominant feeling that's coming out of most people's hearts. Fear. I'm afraid of getting hurt. I'm afraid she won't like me. I'm afraid of doing it. Every once in a while, love or something else comes up, right? But it's fearful down there. Why? Because you stored fear. You stored every single thing that ever happened to you that bothered you inside your beautiful heart and inside your beautiful mind. Free yourself. That's what spirituality is about. You understand? It's not about gurus, about meditation, or about this, or about white, or about being nice. It's not about all those things. That's just another self-concept. I didn't meditate enough. Spirituality is about noticing what your mind is doing, all right? And noticing that it ain't so healthy. If you're going to think negatively and decide what to do to make things make you feel better, your mind's running your show. It is not about that. It's not about getting what you want, avoiding what you don't want, ever. It's never about that in any way, shape, or form. The reason you want things and don't want things is because your mind is closed into this tiny little hole, and you think you can only be okay if you get what it wants. Right? You don't want things. Your mind does. And if you get the mind what it wants by doing what it tells you to do, there's more joy inside of you. Your heart opens up. You hear me? You're just trapped inside this tiny little part of the universe. Oh, it just makes me so sad. Liberation is to learn not to beat your mind up, not to try to kill it, to learn to live at peace inside, despite the fact that you have this ego, despite the fact that you built this thing. It will fall off if you do that. Ego stays strong. It gets strong because you're feeding it. You're feeding it. I don't like what you said. I can't believe you said that. I don't ever see you again. I can't even think about it. What are you doing? It should just be, oh, I'm sorry you weren't feeling good what you said. Don't worry about it. Wouldn't it be nicer to deal with someone like that? So you have to learn how to not be addicted to this tiny little thing in the universe called your mind, your personal mind. There's so many techniques. What about positive thinking? Positive thinking is a wonderful thing. Why? Because your mind tends toward negativity, does it not? Why would they have a thing called positive thinking if they didn't need it? Okay? If the mind was not naturally negative, why is it naturally negative? Because you stored negative junk in there. So it's going to spew it back up. So learn, that's a very nice thing. If you say, it's hot, I don't know, it's hot. So I love the heat. I just love the heat. It's wonderful. The sun, remember Mickey said the sun was 93 million miles away. I was so close to a star. That's what I do. I cannot get out of my car without a 98-degree sun baking on me without going into ecstasy, without just feeling, oh my God, I'm feeling the heat from a star, aren't I? Wow, that's pretty neat. I'm 93 million miles away and it's that hot and it's a star. The little thing that twinkles in the sky, that's one of them. And I'm that close to it. Do that with everything. Just learn to think about it positive and you'll release yourself from the bondage of the negative mind. And eventually you'll release yourself from the bondage of the positive mind. You won't have to do it. Why? Because energy is going to well up inside of you that you didn't even know was there. And you're going to find out that you're a very beautiful being. You in there that suppressed this stuff, that couldn't handle this stuff. You'll start feeling this natural joy, shakti, ecstasy starts flowing inside of you for absolutely no reason. You wake up in the morning, this is going on inside of you. You eat, oh my God, you can't even see straight because there's all kinds of shakti going on inside of you. Every single thing you're doing is just welling up inside of you, feeding you. At which point, there's no reason to listen to that mind. You'll start noticing if you distract yourself, imagine distracting yourself from ecstasy. Why would you do that? And you start not doing it. How? Just the mind talks, you don't listen. If it tells you that there's a double line in the road, don't pass. Thank you, say thank you. If it tells you, you remember there's a double line and that's when your mother told you not to do that and you got so hurt, no, let it go. Just let a stupid thing go. The past is dead, it's gone. The personal stuff doesn't need to be in there. You are better off taking risks than you are worrying about what might happen. Have you ever checked that out? How many things have you worried about that never happened? How many things in your life have you worried about that never happened? Then you just wasted your life. And you're eventually going to catch on that one, most of the things you worry about are not going to happen anyways. So why waste your life? Instead, enjoy your life, right? Two, that you can handle if it happens. Why? Because you didn't make yourself a mess inside your mind and your heart that you can't handle anything. You learn to handle things. And if you're filled with joy, guess what? It doesn't matter so much what happens. Because the joy feeds you. Okay? So do you understand mind better now? Big mind, impersonal mind is, it's infinite, it's beautiful, conjure it, do whatever you want. But personal mind, no, there's no reason for it. Nothing. It does no good. It just screws everything up. You can't love somebody because your personal mind says, well, I'll get hurt again. I don't want to get hurt again. And I don't know where he is anyways. He says you're going to be, I don't trust him. What are you doing? What are you doing? You're making a mess of your life and everybody else's. How about I feel love? I love feeling love. If I get hurt, I'll handle it. It's not a problem. And if I can handle it, it won't hurt as much. And it will go through. And I'll feel love. And I'd rather feel love than worry. I'd rather feel love than anxiety. I'd rather feel love than fear. How about you? So you just learn to look at the mind. I hope you can do it more after this talk. You look at the mind. Don't beat it up. Don't yell at it. Nothing. Just understand. You built that thing. I told you, your stages of mind, first you're addicted to it. Second, you want to get rid of the damn thing. Third, you're kind of looking at it and say, God, I got to get out of here. I got to learn to witness, not look at it. And then next you look at it and you realize, I did this. I built that monster. It didn't do it by itself. I'm the one who pushed that stuff down there. And then you eventually get to the point you literally apologize. You apologize to your mind for doing that. And then you get a relationship with your mind that's healthier than suppression and repression. And you start letting go of that stuff. You take your mind by the hand and say, okay, I'm sorry, I pushed that down there. Let's work it out. No, you can let it up. But it's going to hurt. I would rather go through the pain of soul birth. I call it soul birth. Just like childbirth. the pain of soul birth. There's that junk coming back up and passing through. And you start growing. That's called growing. Oh, I could go on forever, but I won't. God, I hope you understand. I hope from now on you can see mind for what it is. A beautiful, beautiful field of energy that can create, go anywhere. What did Microsoft say? What was their byline? Where do you want to go today? Tiger.
You've been listening to the Michael Singer Podcast, produced by Sounds True in partnership with Shanti Publications. For more information on Michael's body of work and all back episodes, please join us at michaelsingerpodcast.com. Thanks so much for listening. Sounds True, waking up the world.